Welcome back, fishing friends, to another adventure. I'm here at the Buffalo Hole, and my, how things have changed. Trees have bloomed. Birds are chirping. The grass is green. We've got a ton of native grass here in the state. In fact, Sigh It grama is our official state grass. Hey, if you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. My name's Alan, and I appreciate your support as we get into some fishing here at the Buffalo Hole. We'll see what we can come up with. I'm going to try to throw some crappie stuff today, some crappie crankbaits, and spinners and all kinds of stuff. Got my usual setups. I got my 2 ultralights, and then I got 2 bass rods with me. Anyway, let's get hooked up and have fun. Let's see what we got here, guys. I got this on the jig spinner, little jig spinner, but it's the Lakes Finesse Drop Minnow. It's a decent little crappie here. You don't want that in there. There we go. Check him out. I'll show you what I was using right here. And it's one of these little beetle spin style. This one's from Mr. Twister. And I got the drop minnow on there. And I'm not pulling it through too fast, just enough. There's a real subtle bite on there. Man, it's nice and peaceful. Yeah, the water's up a little bit, you can kind of tell. Got the gar slinking around over there. So what can we catch in here? There's crappie, largemouth, white bass, catfish, all kinds of little panfish. And then of course gar. I've caught 2 gar in here before. What is that? There's like a migration of spiders or spider webs everywhere, just floating around. I don't know if you guys can see them. So on this one I got 4-pound line, trilene, extra smooth casting. I know everybody rips on it, but man, I love this trilene. It is good stuff. The thing is, I think I'm going to switch to Sunline and give that a shot this summer. The problem is, I say that, and I won't, because I have so much of the trilene stacked up in reserve. I mean, I've got tons of it. I'd say probably 18 boxes or so left over, ready to go. Oh, I thought that was a fish, and it was this stinking hydrilla. Dang, I thought I had a good one too. Had something poking around on here, guys. I'm throwing the little hair jig, one of my little hair jigs I made. And right along the shoreline, pink, pink, but nothing yet. There we go, guys, on the hair jig, but I'm caught up in the weeds. He's gonna have to get out of there on the little hair jig. Come on. Come on, get out of there. There we go. On the hair jig, it's a little crappie. What were you doing staying stuck in there, huh? Let me get a better shot of this. So that's a little hair jig, one of mine, you know, with the flash that you see me make. It's got that big eye. There we go. Not a big guy, but he's still pretty cool. There he goes. All right. We'll come back to the hair jig in a little bit. I'm going to throw these little crappie crankbaits around. We'll see how that goes. All right, guys, this is one of these Arky lures, 220, little minnow pattern, designed for crappie. I was out here the couple weeks ago throwing one of these in the chartreuse and green pattern. I had that bass just destroy it. So these I give just a little slow crank, a twitch, let them come up to the surface. Come on, get out of there. That's the only thing, is if you're really too slow, it has the potential to get caught in the weeds, so I may have to bring it up a little. There, you can see it right there. Hopefully you can see it. And then she just dives down. Looks phenomenal. And cast him a country mile too, which is great. So I gotta find the right cadence to where it won't get hung up, but not too fast. That's that weed line, crying out loud. Man, there's a whole bunch of it in there. Sheesh. These are mainly meant for trolling, but I mean, you could use them just about anywhere. Small creeks. Uh-oh, am I caught cabbage again? Ponds like this. Oh, there we go. Yeah, last time I was here, the growth wasn't as, it just started. You didn't have to worry about it much. Now it's really started to take off. But I usually don't have any trouble with this hanging up. Ooh, he threw it. Did you guys see that? Dang it all. Ooh, he threw it. Right there. How did he not have the hooks? Check out the geese going bananas. I don't know if that was a crappie or a bass, but man, he smoked it. So what I did is slow crank and then I let it stop and it just kind of wiggles up. Dang. I couldn't tell if it was a crappie or a bass. I think it was a bass. With a jump like that, it had to have been a bass. Man, that was fun. So I've been switching colors around. So this one's an orange chartreuse. Hey, and that fish, I let him play with it for a bit. It took me a minute to get the camera on because I was making sure that he was hooked, and then guess what? He comes off. Yeah, that's a good color right there. Check that out. Black eyes, chartreuse, orange on the back. If you never tried these, you got to give them a shot. These Arkies. Get out of there. Oh, it's a butterfly. Dang it. I thought it was something else. See, I think a lot of times we fish stuff way too quick. I know there's times where people want to burn a spinner or burn this or burn that, but a lot of times on the pause, or if you got a suspending crankbait like that, the slow riser, you can get a nice strike on the pause. And with the light line, like an ultra light setup, man, it is fun. Because it makes you think you got like a gigantic fish on. I hate to change colors away from this one, but I've got a bunch of good colors other ones I want to test out. We'll do a couple more casts with this guy, and then I've got some other orange and chartreuse ones. There's some monster crappie in here. All right, we're gonna change up our color. All right, guys, I switched to a cream or white belly, orange, and then black on the top. Come on, get out of there. Starting to pick up. Do I even have the dead cat on here on the GoPro today to help muffle the wind? Guys, we're hooked up on a cream creature bait. I'll have to tell you what it is here in a minute. Boy, it's big. I'm gonna have to let it kind of do its thing. Here it comes. Is it catfish? No. Looks like a bass, maybe. I got a big one right here. Yeah, I can't get it out. Here she comes. That's why. There we go.
Have fun.
All right, guys. I couldn't talk or narrate very much because this couple came on. They were asking me fishing stuff, and then I hooked into that big bass, and I told them that I was fishing the creek back in there, and I just made a pit stop here. But this is what I'm throwing. It's a cream little creature lizard on a football head, and I thought I had a snag, and all of a sudden, pow! It was a fish, but she was just sitting on it. She wouldn't move, and then finally she started to swim. But I'm just bouncing it along the bottom. And then when I gave it a tug, it was just like I was stuck, tugged again, stuck, and then all of a sudden, pow! And then she came in with a whole bunch of cabbage, so she weighed, or he, or whatever, weighed a bunch more. So I'm using the Mach 2 with 12 and 12, or excuse me, 15 and 12 braid to fluoro. Just bouncing it along. Did all my crappie experimentation. I may go back to my little hair jig. Yeah, they were nice people. I had to kind of throw them off the trail a little bit. But then the gig was up when I pulled that fatty in. Ooh, I got a little thump there, guys. Is it a fish? Dang it. Sometimes I get the little thumps from like the bluegill, wanting to know what this is. Kind of like when you throw a Senko and you start getting thump, 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 thump. We call them lizards, but really they're supposed to mimic salamanders. Alright guys, I'm throwing this little speed cream, or this little speed screamer from Creme. It worked really good as a trailer, looks good in the water. But I've just got it on a football head, but you can check it out, it looks good. That would look good on a spinner trailer, on a jig trailer. It's got some nice movement. But I'm pitching it around on a football head just in case we got something lurking around the shore here, like we have been having. Ooh. Looks pretty good. Now all we need is a fish. Let me put that on the back of a spinner bait. Alright guys, I got this Bomber Bushwhacker with a Creme Speed Screamer trailer. So we're going to zip this around and see what we can get. This might be a nice little pairing. Not too fast on the crank, nice and easy. Oh yeah, check that out. That looks perfect. That looks perfect. I prefer those Colorado blades than the willows. I know some people are like, "Nah, what are you doing?" I like spinners in black, white, chartreuse. Alright guys, I tested all kinds of more lures from Creme, some more little crankbaits. I spared you the footage of no action, so now I'm just throwing the little hair jig again, hoping we get something on just a little slip bobber. I threw the Ned rig for a little bit, nothing on that. I mean, I worked it deep, shallow, everywhere, just nothing. Okay, so my setup for this is pretty shallow because the crappie usually feed up, looking up. So I got the little hair jig, so I'm just gonna bounce it along, twitch it a little. Really is starting to pick up. Sheesh. I never catch anything in the creek over there. Could this be the year? Maybe I caught a little catfish one time, but those little white kind of odd looking catfish. I mean, I have fished and fished and fished that creek, and I never get anything. 3-4 years in a row. Alright guys, here we go. The key on this, you can see it up here on the top, is the pheasant hair. Makes it just perfect. And on the bottom, got a little bit of flash. The thing is, the wind is just starting to really pick up, so this is making this hard to fish with, but so even though it's on the bobber, I just twitch it, reel, twitch it, reel. So shout out to the family that gave me those pheasant feathers. I appreciate that. So that was key in catching that first crappie there. But you can see the wind is pushing the bobber over. And then I got a big bow on my line, so when I twitch it, I got to be real careful to also feel down here in case I get that bite. It's so peaceful out here. We're still a couple weeks away from where everything's really, really active. I was checking my notes and it was the same thing. Have some activity early April, but really it picks up a little bit later on. I went up to my spot in Oklahoma, guys, and it was a bust. Did that yesterday and there was just nothing. Water was real shallow. Even though we've had lots of rain, the water was shallow. And I mean, I could see a ton of gar, but I didn't see any crappie anywhere. And people around there that were fishing for crappie weren't catching anything. So I was bummed out. We need some big time rains, because before I go to Iowa, I want to go to my little crappie spot. Ooh, we got hung up on some cabbage. All right, guys, next up is I'm gonna throw a crankbait that my friend Blake from Dark Corner Customs Crankbaits did for me, and we're gonna work that sucker around, see what we can come up with. All right, guys, here we go. Oops. Just trying to get that mosquito off. There we go. DC for Dark Corners. And then check that out. Chartreuse with greens, got a cool pattern on there. So I got a whole bunch of these Bomber 6As, and these things were in terrible shape. So they were gifted from a friend of mine who got them from at a garage sale, essentially a garage sale, and they were in terrible shape. So I said, you know what, let's get these fixed, painted up. So I sent them to Blake and he got them into shape for me. So let's give this a whirl and see how we do. I need to find that weed line that's over there to the right that I had earlier, where I had that nice strike. Oh, heck yeah, man. I gotta hit this spot over here first. Ooh, that wind. So I've been moving up and down the banks like I always do. I know footage-wise, you may not see it, but I run it right in front of that bush and all that junk with the tree. That's where I popped that huge crappie in a couple videos ago. Ooh, check out that cabbage. Usually they'll come through pretty clean, but if I crank it too slow, that's what happens. So that's something, if you're cranking, keep that in mind. I don't want to go too fast because we're still early in the season. You want to give the fish a chance to home in on it. But you don't want to go too slow that you get hung up in there. Man, I thought I had a fish there. Nothing on this Bomber 6A. I worked that bank, came around this way, worked that cove. Nothing. And as soon as I turn the camera on, I get the cabbage. I had no cabbage there for a lot of casts, and then as soon as the camera comes on, I get the cabbage. So I've just been working it along like I always. Oh, that breeze feels awesome. I've been working it just like I usually do. Oops. Slow, and then I did burn it when I was along that bank there, just to say that I did burn it, and nothing. They're just not quite ready yet. I'm going to switch to the drop minnow. And then, oh, that's some cabbage. I buried it pretty good. I'm going to switch to the drop minnow on the sneaky underspin. Throw that around for a bit. Or that weedless setup I've got. And hopefully we'll get something. So I tested a whole bunch of different lures today, guys. It was a lot of fun. Thing is, to spare you some of the skunking, I don't record it, but man, I tested just tons of different stuff, new stuff. I don't want to say anything really what it is because I want to keep working with it so I can do a video at another time, but definitely had fun testing the lures. Yeah, check out this guy. It's pretty good. He did a great paint job on that. Look at that. The chartreuse. And the purple back. I got some he did. I showed you in that one video where I've got the black back. Oh, good stuff. All right, guys. You know I had to throw the MEPS at some point. I got a MEPS XD size 3 with a Yum Clear Shad FF sonar minnow. And just because it says FF sonar or any of these forward facing sonar baits, you don't have to. Ooh. I had a chaser right there, guys. What the heck? it's a gar. Sneak it. I thought it was a snake. I think he's got it. I don't think he realizes he's hooked. But anyway, FFS, you don't need to be forward-facing sonar to use them. There he goes. Oh, self-release. Actually, that worked out pretty good. Whew. Check that out. So I saw him, he had it, and he just sat there. So as soon as I wiggled it, did you see him? He went, and then he spit it. So you know what I should have done? I should have just, as scalers would say, just heaved into him, loaded to the cork, loaded up on him. I mean, just pow, almost pulled him. Actually, I didn't do too bad. I almost pulled him out of the water, setting the hook there. Man, he was so camouflaged. He was following it all the way in. And then he stopped. He was in those weeds there in the cabbage. And he just sat there. And then I just pitched it behind him like you saw. And then I brought it in. I mean, I could not see him if it weren't for just a little flash. He was so camouflaged. Dang. Anyway, so we're going to count that as a catch self-release. There's a lot bigger gar in here than that. That was pretty cool. Loaded to the cork. That's what Frank Scalish and Matt Pangrak, they're always talking about that. It's one of his taglines. Back behind me, there's... Something just moved right in there along the shore. Back behind me, there's an owl keeps hooting every once in a while. There's been tons of people walking the trail. I'm surprised he's still there. I heard him this earlier. Dang, guys. That would have been funnier. It would have been fun to get that gar. Look at all the bait fish scattering. There's something torpedoed through over here. That was definitely cat and mouse with the gar. So I could see that he had it. And he had, the spoon was hanging out. So I knew he had the minnow. But they have that armor that's just so dang hard to hook. So I just let him sit there. And then I twitched it just a little bit. Is that a hawk way up there going bananas? I twitched it just a little bit like you saw, and pow! And then I tried to set the hook on him. This is a perfect combo, guys. These Yum minnows. Remember, just because it says, or it's called FF sonar, forward-facing sonar, doesn't mean you have to use it for that. I like them because it comes scented. They have the 3, 4, and 5 inch. Ooh, what made that giant wake? I'm gonna have to get over there. Yeah, that looks phenomenal in the water. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up. I may stop by the creek there, throw a little bit. The creek where I've never caught anything except for a little dinky white catfish. And I've fished that thing tons of times, and I just don't ever have any luck. And the only reason I caught him was because I was using a night crawler. I was using all kinds of cool baits too. Nothing, none of the crappie stuff. It was just, I couldn't get anything. And it was, I want to say early May. And I was just so disappointed. Anyway, let me know what you guys are catching. If you're going for crappie, bass, what kind of stuff you're using. This weekend, I think the elites are back at it. They're in Florida. So I got my little fantasy lineup all good to go. Let's see who wins that. I'm going to see if we got scopers, bank grinders, or what the deal is. I'm kind of lucky being a bank fisherman because I never would ever have to worry about any of that kind of stuff. I've been doing this for so long. It's just, I prefer it, you know? So I don't ever have to worry about any of that kind of mess that everyone's debating and freaking out over. Ooh, is that gar? I hadn't seen him around. He threw the hook and he swam off. He wasn't, I mean, he swam off. He wasn't like in a full-blown panic. Man, that looks just too good. Anyway, so those guys are going to be out in Florida. Do I have one? No, just cabbage it feels like. But let me know what you're catching, if you're catching anything. And what are you using? There's tons of baits that have come out that are pretty cool. I know 6 Cents came out with a bunch of new stuff. I think I'm all set with my baits. I'm pretty dialed in. I had all the ones I got from the Classic, but I'm pretty much dialed in. I enjoyed testing different lures and stuff, but I know what's going to work for me. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. And until next time, I will see you then. Bye-bye. Now get out there and get your lures wet.